Kaenar swung down from his massive black stallion. His boots hit the cold ground with a thud. Then he walked straight up to Aarhiya, still disguised as Sonraya, and stared at him like he was a riddle carved into stone. Up close, Kaenar could already tell something was off. The clothing. The aura. "You're an outsider," Kaenar said, voice deep and low, almost growled rather than spoken. "No outsider can cross the barrier. How did you get through?" Aarhiya could feel the weight of that gaze, sharp enough to slice through anything, so he tried to steady his breathing. I don't know," he answered honestly. "I was desperate. Maybe that's why it let me in." Kaenar didn't buy it. His eyes narrowed, suspicion hardening his expression. "Spare me the foolishness, if you are proven dangerous, your execution will be swift." Aarhiya's heart nearly dropped out of his chest. He fell to his knees immediately. Please don't kill me," he begged, his voice cracking. "I'm not here to harm anyone. I can be useful to you. And there must be a reason the barrier let me in." Those words made Kaenar pause for the first time. Just a flicker. Because deep in the back of his memory, something stirred. An old woman's prophecy. Her voice which he had dismissed as nonsense. "There is hope," she had said, "the bringer of light will come soon. Someone destined not only to shine upon Umbereth but upon you as well." He didn't believe it then. He didn't believe it now. But Aarhiya continued desperately, "Please, my servant. My dragon, Nelo. He stayed behind to protect me. He's strong, but he swore an oath that he won't hurt people. They'll kill him because of that. Please save him. If anyone deserves death, let it be me, but not him." Kaenar's jaw tightened. Emotion didn't pass through his face, but something curdled behind his eyes, annoyance, confusion, maybe even the faintest spark of intrigue. "If you are leading me into a trap," he said quietly, "you will regret it." And without another word to Aarhiya, Kaenar turned sharply and headed back through the barrier alone. His general, a big huge man called Kaenar, gasped. "Your Majesty, wait. I said I'll handle it," Kaenar snapped, and the soldiers fell silent immediately. When he crossed back into Luminar's side, he saw Nelo, still in dragon form, circled by bandits. They had cornered him, blades out, and Nelo was bleeding from a long gash along his ribs. Even wounded, the dragon held back, wings trembling as he tried not to strike them with lethal force. Kaenar's eyes filled with irritation. "Pathetic," he muttered. "A dragon that refuses to fight." The bandits turned and noticed him. Their expressions turned pale, fear flooding their faces as recognition dawned. The Emperor of Dusk. The monster of Umbereth. "It's the Emperor of Dusk. Run for your lives," someone shouted. They tried to scatter. They didn't get far. Kaenar lifted his hand, and the moon above him shifted color, bleeding red like a freshly opened wound. "Red moon," he whispered. A surge of crimson magic filled the air, slicing through the bandits with merciless precision. Not one survived. Not one even had time to scream. When it was over, Nelo collapsed in exhaustion and transformed back into his human form. He was unconscious lying on the ground. Kaenar sighed sharply, annoyed beyond measure, but he still bent down, grabbed Nelo like someone carrying a bag of grain, and marched him back to Umbereth. He dropped Nelo unceremoniously beside Aarhiya. Aarhiya gasped and immediately crawled to his side. "Nelo! Nelo, please wake up." His hands trembled as he checked the wound. Then he looked up at Kaenar with hope. "Please, he needs help. He needs medical care." Kaenar's expression snapped. "Be silent," he barked. "Your presence here is already infuriating enough. Don't test me." But Aarhiya wasn't afraid. "I'm begging you," he said softly but firmly. "Help him. Please." Kaenar took a deep breath. He simply lifted one hand and made a sharp gesture. General Kaenar, the huge, broad-shouldered warrior who had been hovering nearby like a silent mountain, obeyed instantly. Kaenar scooped Nelo's unconscious body off the ground with surprising gentleness for a man his size, laid him across a horse, and secured him there. Aarhiya let out a shaky breath, relieved but still terrified for his friend. He barely had time to blink before Kaenar turned toward him. And without warning, Kaenar grabbed him, effortlessly, like Aarhiya weighed nothing, and lifted him onto his own horse. Aarhiya yelped. "Wait. What are you?" Kaenar swung himself up behind him, the leather of his armor creaking as he settled into position. His presence was overwhelming, cold, powerful, and too close. Aarhiya twisted slightly to look at him. "Where are you taking me?" "To my friend, Polar," Kaenar said, like it should have been obvious. "He's the best healer in Umbrath. Your dragon will survive, if you don't waste my time." Aarhiya swallowed hard. The horse suddenly lurched forward, and the world tilted. He tried to keep a little distance, stiffening up. Kaenar noticed. And Kaenar did not like it. "If you fall," Kaenar whispered into his ears, "I won't be responsible for scraping you off the ground." Aarhiya froze, cheeks burning. After a moment of struggling with pride and self-preservation, he finally placed his hands, awkwardly, against Kaenar's armored torso. "Good," Kaenar muttered. Kaenar rode ahead with Nelo, and the rest of the Umbrath soldiers followed behind in a steady dark formation. They moved deeper into the kingdom, shadows swallowing them with every step. Meanwhile, far beneath the earth, the dungeon walls trembled ever so slightly, as if reacting to something only the darkness understood. Sacador, his face still hidden beneath a heavy hood, paced restlessly. He could feel it in the air, an unnatural shift, something subtle but unmistakable. He extended a hand, and a swirl of black fog rose from the ground. Advisor Durian materialized before him, kneeling. "You summoned me, my lord." Sacador's voice was low, threaded with unease. "Something isn't right with the barrier." Advisor Durian's head lifted slightly. "The barrier, my lord?" "Yes." Sacador's fingers twitched, sharp with agitation. "Something breached it. Something that should have been impossible. I felt it. A presence, foreign." His tone darkened. The air thickened around them. "I have a bad feeling," he murmured, almost to himself. "A very bad feeling." Advisor Durian bowed deeper. "What would you have me do?" "Investigate," Sacador hissed. "Find out what passed through my barrier. And if someone is responsible, bring them to me." His voice curled through the dungeon like smoke, hungry and cold. "I will not let anything interfere with my ascension." Kaenar and Aarhiya rode through the woods in tense silence until the trees finally parted, revealing a strange-looking cabin tucked deep inside the forest. Smoke curled gently from the chimney, but the glow of strange symbols flickered around the walls, Polar's unmistakable handiwork. "This is your friend's residence," Aarhiya whispered, staring at the odd mix of cozy home and eerie laboratory. Kaenar didn't bother answering. He simply dismounted, pulled Aarhiya down beside him, and marched forward. Polar burst out the moment he heard the horses. His wild hair was everywhere as usual, goggles perched on his forehead, and a half-burned piece of parchment still clutched in one hand. "Kaenar. I wasn't expecting," he froze mid-sentence when he spotted Aarhiya. His eyes widened, flickering from Kaenar to the woman beside him. "Who is that? What a beauty." Kaenar didn't even let him finish. "Focus." He stepped aside so Polar could see Nelo slumped unconscious on the other horse, bleeding. Polar's entire expression shifted. "Oh. That's bad. Very bad." He rushed over immediately. "How long has he been like this? What hit him? Did he shift mid? Don't answer, I'll figure it out." Before Aarhiya could blink, Polar had hauled Nelo inside and started preparing strange potions, powders, and glowing threads of magic. Kaenar didn't follow. He turned instead, grabbed Aarhiya firmly by the wrist, and pulled him around the back of the building to a secluded clearing lit only by the dim shimmer of Umbretha's false moon. Aarhiya stumbled a bit. "What are you doing?" Kaenar stopped and spun around, eyes cold and unblinking. "Talk." Aarhiya blinked. "About who you are," Kaenar replied. His voice was soft, but the edge in it felt like a blade pressed against his throat. "How you crossed the barrier. And what exactly you think you're doing in my kingdom." Aarhiya swallowed, trying to keep calm. I told you. I don't know how I got through." "Impossible." Kaenar stepped closer, studying him intensely. "No outsider has crossed the Umbreth barrier in decades. Not a single one." "I don't know what to tell you," Aarhiya said helplessly. "I was running for my life. Maybe that was enough." Kaenar's eyes didn't soften. "What's your name?" Aarhiya hesitated. He hated this part. But he forced it out. "Sonraya." "And where are you from, Sonraya?" Aarhiya took a deep breath. "Luminar." Everything stopped. The air itself seemed to freeze. Kaenar's expression twisted, lips curling into something dark and dangerous. He unsheathed his sword so fast Aarhiya flinched back. The blade glowed faintly red in the dimness. "A Luminari," Kaenar whispered coldly. "My enemy." "You're a spy." "What?" "No." Aarhiya actually laughed, partly out of fear, partly at the ridiculousness of it. "There's nothing to spy on here. What would I even report? The darkness? The lack of sunlight?" Kaenar's glare sharpened, but the mocking tone had caught him off guard. Aarhiya huffed, frustrated. "I was running away from my wedding, all right. It's complicated, and I didn't want to go through with it. That's when those bandits found me, and I panicked. I didn't even realize where I was until I hit the barrier, and somehow got through." Kaenar stepped back slightly, sword lowering. Aarhiya continued, voice cracking with exhaustion. "My friend's hurt. I just want him to be okay. And once he is, we'll leave. We won't cause trouble." Kaenar smirked, and the expression wasn't kind. "Oh no," he said quietly. "You won't be leaving." Aarhiya blinked, confused. "What? Why not?" Kaenar stepped closer again, until Aarhiya could feel the cold aura radiating off him. "You owe me your life. And I don't let people walk away from debts." Aarhiya stared at him, stunned. You're keeping me here. As what? A prisoner? As whatever I need you to be," Kaenar replied. "Maybe a servant. Maybe something else. And while you're here, I'll find out exactly how you crossed my barrier." Aarhiya shook his head. "I can't stay here. I have somewhere I need to be. You don't understand." Kaenar wasn't moved in the slightest. His eyes flickered over Aarhiya's face, and for a brief moment his expression shifted, confusion, surprise, maybe even admiration. Aarhiya forgot how to breathe for a moment. The books hadn't prepared him for this. Emperor Kaenar Dravenmore, the feared ruler of Umbereth, the walking nightmare of the Five Realms, was beautiful. Sharp jaw, pale flawless skin, dark blue hair falling over intense silver eyes. This man wasn't supposed to look like this. Kaenar leaned in, voice low, almost a growl. "Don't try anything foolish," he murmured. "From this moment on, you belong to me. Just like everything else in Umbereth." Aarhiya's breath hitched. And Kaenar turned sharply, cloak whipping behind him, and walked away without another glance. Leaving Aarhiya in the cold darkness, heart racing. Time passed with the slow, tense heaviness of waiting. Aarhiya sat anxiously by the dimly glowing lanterns while Kaenar stood off to the side, arms folded, his expression unreadable. Every crackle of Polar's strange potions made Aarhiya jump a little. Finally, Polar emerged, wiping sweat from his forehead with the sleeve of his oversized coat. "Well," he sighed, pulling off his goggles, "your dragon will live." Aarhiya let out a shaky breath of relief. Polar continued, "He'll be unconscious for a few days. The wound was deep, but nothing I can't handle. He'll have to stay with me until his body stabilizes." Aarhiya nodded quickly. Thank you so much." Polar smiled kindly, until his eyes slid toward Kaenar. "And what about this woman?" he asked. "What do you intend to do with her?" He glanced at Aarhiya again, still seeing the illusion of Sonraya. Kaenar's response came instantly, with a smirk that made Aarhiya's stomach twist. "My palace needs a new servant," Kaenar said casually. "She'll do." Aarhiya shot to his feet. "What?" "I will not, you can't be serious." Kaenar didn't even blink. "Oh, I am." Aarhiya glared. "I'm not working for you. He stopped himself just in time. "I'm not your servant." Kaenar stepped closer, eyes narrowing with that familiar icy dominance. "Then you're welcome to leave," he said calmly. "Wander into the forest. See how long you last." Aarhiya froze. He wasn't exaggerating. Umbereth was known for its shadow beasts, specters, creatures that devoured magic itself. Alone, he wouldn't last minutes. Kaenar leaned in slightly. "Besides, like I said, you owe me." Aarhiya clenched his jaw, every fiber of his pride screaming. A prince of Luminar, reduced to this. A servant in a dark kingdom. But he had no choice. "Fine," he muttered bitterly. Kaenar smirked again, clearly satisfied. "Good. Then it's decided." Polar watched the exchange with a strange, thoughtful calm, almost like a man witnessing the beginning of something world-changing. When Kaenar announced that he was leaving with Aarhiya and that Polar should send updates on Nelo, Polar simply nodded. But once the two left the cabin, Polar's expression darkened. "Things are about to change," he whispered to himself. "The Emperor of Darkness is about to have his whole life turned upside down." Outside, Kaenar's soldiers straightened the moment he appeared. Aarhiya walked behind him, head lowered, praying none of them saw through the illusion. General Kaenar approached. "Your Majesty, what should we report to Advisor Durian?" Kaenar didn't hesitate. "Nothing," he said firmly. "The arrival of these two stays between us. Not a word to Durian." Kaenar blinked in surprise. Kaenar rarely hid anything from the court, but nodded. "As you command." Behind him, Aarhiya noticed the tension in Kaenar's shoulders, a tiny sliver of distrust he wasn't trying to hide. Meanwhile, back in the shadowy dungeon, Durian returned to Sacador. Sacador sat motionless on his throne of twisting shadows, only the faint outline of his form visible. His voice rumbled through the chamber. "Well? Any disturbances?" Durian bowed his head. "None, my lord. Umbereth is calm. Nothing unusual at the borders." Sacador didn't move, yet the air trembled. "Something is wrong," the mysterious figure murmured. "I can feel it. Something past the barrier. Something that should not exist." Durian swallowed hard. "Shall I investigate again?" Sacador's unseen eyes seemed to glow. "Yes," he whispered. "Find it. As soon as possible." Kaenar finally reached the palace grounds, riding in with that same intimidating confidence he carried everywhere. Aarhiya sat behind him, feeling worried for the unknown. The palace looked even darker up close, its walls almost seemed to drink in the light. For someone who grew up surrounded by color, brightness, and music, this place felt like a punishment all on its own. The moment the two stepped into the inner courtyard, the Emperor's concubines caught sight of them. Their silks rustled as they leaned forward, eager, hungry for gossip. Standing at the front were the first and second royal concubines, Laera and Mina. Laera watched in complete silence, her expression unreadable. Mina, on the other hand, was practically buzzing. "Who is she?" Mina whispered sharply, nudging Laera with her elbow. "Is she the newest addition to the harem?" Laera didn't blink. "We don't know that yet." "Oh please," Mina murmured, smiling bitterly, "look at her. If she's joining us, she'll suffer like the rest of us. Our husband isn't exactly warm." Laera said nothing, but you could see the anger simmering under her expression, tight jaw, a slight tremble of her fingers. Whatever she was thinking, it wasn't pleasant. Aarhiya caught their stares, sharp as daggers from the shadows of the corridor. He quickly looked away. He had bigger problems than palace drama. The palace was suffocatingly dim, the air thick and cold. Even the torches seemed tired. It was the complete opposite of the sparkling kingdom he came from. Every breath here felt like swallowing smoke. Kaenar suddenly stopped and turned to the side where an elderly woman bowed low. Her hair was white and pulled tight into a bun. Her name was Todi, the head of the palace households. "Give Sonraya a room and proper clothes," Kaenar instructed her. His tone was clipped, like he was assigning tasks to a soldier. "For now, she will serve in the palace." Aarhiya clenched his jaw. Serve? Him? A prince? But he kept quiet. He refused to give Kaenar the satisfaction of seeing him break. Kaenar started walking away but paused just long enough to look over his shoulder and toss a final order, his voice low and cold. "Rest well. Tomorrow will be a very long day for you." Then he disappeared down the hall, not even waiting for a response. Aarhiya could have screamed. Or cried. Or grabbed something heavy and sent it flying at his head. But he swallowed it all. Barely. Todi motioned for him to follow, her steps soft but steady. She led him deeper into the palace, past narrow corridors, past silent doorways, and further down until the air felt even heavier. Finally, she stopped at a room near the palace basement. The door creaked as she pushed it open. The room was dark. Quiet. Bigger than he expected, but with walls so old the stone was almost black. No decorations. No warmth. No comfort. The shadows seemed alive. Aarhiya stood there with his heart sinking. How am I supposed to survive in a place like this? Todi looked back at him, studying him with soft but tired eyes. You don't seem to be from around here, she said gently. But it's not my place to question the Emperor's decisions. I'll bring you fresh clothes and something to eat. Rest early. You'll have tasks tomorrow. She gave a small bow and shuffled away, leaving Aarhiya alone with the darkness. The moment she left, the weight of everything finally settled. The room. The cold. The strange land. Serving the ruthless Emperor of Dusk, Kaenar Dravenmore. He pressed a hand over his face, trying not to let frustration swallow him whole. But then he breathed out slowly. Still better than marrying Draken, he told himself. 6 months. He just had to survive 6 months while disguised as Sonraya. Keep his head low. Stay out of trouble. Figure out an escape before anyone learned who he really was. It wasn't ideal. But it was the only plan he had left. Meanwhile, somewhere across the palace, Kaenar was preparing for bed. He moved around his chambers quietly, stripping off his armor piece by piece until all that remained was the unsettling echo of his thoughts. His mind kept drifting back to Sonraya as the stranger claimed. The barrier. That impossible barrier. How did someone so small, so clearly untrained, manage to break through a defense not even seasoned warriors could touch? It didn't make sense. And the more he thought about it, the more he remembered Whitey's prophecy. Kaenar exhaled sharply and shook his head. No. It couldn't be Sonraya. He remembered the fragile way she held herself, the panic in her eyes, the way she didn't even know how to defend herself. There was no way the timid stranger was the prophesied one who would return the sun to their cursed land. Even so, he made a mental note. Tomorrow, he would go find Whitey. He wanted answers. For tonight, he forced himself to stop thinking. He laid down, pulled the covers over himself, and closed his eyes, though sleep for him was rarely peaceful. Sometime later, Aarhiya had finished eating and changed into the plain clothes Todi brought. The palace was painfully quiet. Too quiet. He walked the corridors with slow steps, feeling the heaviness of the shadows pressing in on him. Every corner looked the same, dark, hollow, lifeless. But then, something unusual caught his eye. A soft glow. A faint, warm shimmer coming from the east wing. Curiosity tugged at him, so he followed the glow until he stepped into a hidden garden, one unlike anything else in Umbereth. The moment he entered, the cold seemed to melt away. The flowers there sparkled like sunlight caught in crystal, shimmering with a warmth he hadn't seen since leaving Luminar. The sight made his chest tighten pleasantly. He sat slowly among the glowing flowers, letting the quiet wash over him. Above, the moon was calm and bright, and for the first time since running away, he whispered an apology to his father, telling him he was sorry for leaving, sorry for the worry, sorry for everything. A soft breeze drifted through the garden, and without thinking, Aarhiya lifted his hand. He twirled his fingers gently, a habit as natural as breathing. In a flash of jade-green light, his bamboo flute appeared in his palm. He raised it to his lips and began to play, a soft, ethereal melody that floated like moonlight through the air. At that exact moment, Kaenar was trapped inside a nightmare. Fire. Screams. His kingdom crumbling under the claws of a faceless entity. Everyone dying. Everyone except him. He jolted awake with a gasp, drenched in sweat. His heart pounded wildly, another night, another terror. Sleep never came easy to him. Insomnia had become his shadow. He dragged himself to his desk, hands trembling slightly as he poured a calming herb into a cup. But before he could drink it, something made him freeze. Music. A flute. Soft, warm, impossibly gentle, notes that didn't belong in a palace built from darkness. He had never heard anything like it. Not here. Not anywhere in Umbereth. He set the cup down slowly and walked toward the balcony, led by the sound like a moth drawn to a flame. When he stepped outside, he stopped dead in his tracks. Sonraya was sitting in his mother's sun garden. The same garden she used to nurture with her magic. The same flowers she enchanted to glow like tiny suns because she missed the real ones so dearly. Seeing Sonraya there, delicate, peaceful, bathed in moonlight while playing a flute that made the flowers brighten with every note, it hit Kaenar like a punch to the chest. Memories of his mother flooded him so fast he couldn't breathe. The glow of the flowers. The gentle warmth. The music. His eyes stung, not from the light, but from emotion he hadn't felt in years. He hadn't expected to feel anything from Sonraya, yet here he was, standing frozen above him, watching the scene with a strange ache in his chest. Aarhiya had no idea he was being watched. No idea the Emperor was staring at him like he was seeing sunlight for the first time in centuries. And Kaenar. Kaenar couldn't look away. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes. Love you all.